Good luck, Attu. Bat long. Good luck. Bowler, path aade. See what he's doing. See what he's doing. എല്ലാ ബോളും അടിക്ക് വേണണ്ടാ. എവറി ബോൾ ഇല്ലടാ. ഏയ് calm down, head down, calm down. Hey guys, make it fast.
Guys, lefty!
Head down when you play. Head down. That's it, head down. Attu. That's cricketing shot.
Advik is coming.
Fielder, always see where the boundary is, okay, and your decision is final whenever you are close to boundary.
Guys, the phones are boundary. Phones are boundary.
Phones are the boundary. Phones marks are the boundary. You tell us. It's a boundary.
Guys, phones are boundary.
Come on, Akash, come on, boy!
Leka, help them in scoring.
Yes, the caller name is Ronit.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
I got it.
And I'll once in a while I'll keep asking for the ball check.
Okay.
So where you are sitting over there? Thank you. All right, boys, come on, come on.
Come on, Akash! You got this, boy!
Satya. Can you share the link? Right, left, forward, wicket.
Good running, boys! Good running! What a start, boys! What a start! We love that, boys! We love that!
Run and go.
Walk in, walk in. Guys, this is not the boundary, okay? This is the boundary line. Just letting you know. Actual boundary सही है.
Shot!
Back in.
Nice, that's it! Good batting, boys!
कंफर्म कर रहा था।
Oh yeah, let's go.
गुजराती तो नहीं बोलता हूँ, बहुत गुस्सा हो जाता तो मैं बोल देता हूँ। Tanush, what did I just tell you?
Good shot. Go for that. Hey guys. Okay.
What did I just tell you in the
Head down
field?
and go for it. Good job. Good job.
Clearing, change with Atharva.
The shot to hit. Good job. Hit it hard. Just connect it. Middle. Reach left Adi. Then a long guard. Good job. Lay it down. That's it. That's it. We're getting set.
Let's go, Southwick. Easy wicket. Yeah. Easy six. Eh. What is Guarding crisis out here. I like that. I like that. These are throwdowns, boys. These are throwdowns.
Keep talking, guys. Keep talking. Keep talking. All right, that's all right. Good plan, good plan.
Let's go, Officer C. Let's go. Practice any jogs as
Yeah.
practice, no? Practice.
Keep talking, keep talking.
बेटा, stay on the 30. Diya Mehta. एक बार अभी तुम लोग बोले कि सब चाहिए आता रहो stay at 30 lefty Samit switch wider little bit wider thank you Chalo righty on guys righty on switch up ए विहान अपील कर देवानी डजंट मैटर अपील कर देवानी चल watch hit Azad yes boys yes one
Nice going!
It's okay, Vihan, it's okay. Advik. 30 yards. Start from 30 yards. That's it.
Watch the ball, watch the fielder. Back down.
Catch. कोई नहीं करना. Good job, Anirudh. Vanch, continue. एक करवा देते हैं, शायद और एक પકડ બરાબર છે.
Yeah, good one, good one. Good movement.
નાખી શકે જેવું કીધું કારણ કે આ જે છે ને એ આ બાજુ અને આ બાજુ બે જગ્યાએ પકડાવો પકડ રાઈટ
Yes, yes.
બરાબર છે
Good man, excellent, excellent.
થોડો પાછળ જાય 400
Coming, it's coming.
તનું જ ફાઈન કોઈ પકડી લે એટલે ચાવવાનો ચાન્સીસ છે. વેરી વેલ બોલ થોડી બિહાન થોડો પાછળથી આવજે. કમ લિટલ બીટ બેક. See, listen, you have to cover that entire round. Bowling good, don't change the line. Bowling good.
No, you can have to keep No, he can.
પકડો.
Remember position, center every time. Go back and get from there.
બે ગેમો કરવાના. Okay, very well ball. Bowling good. આ ગ્રાઉન્ડ ઉપર આપણે 3.5. Well ball. अरे यार. मस्त हाइट नहीं तो आपला भी अरे मस्त क्या पड़े बुद्धि वालों जो ना ये इट्स अ फाइट है अपनी जगह बॉल आगे
Let's go. So many chances we are getting.
Okay, boy, it's okay. Stay in there, boy, stay in there. Come on, Vijay, you got this, boy.
Relax and focus.
Vijay, boy, let's go, Vijay. Running, boys, good running. Nice, that's it.
Sarva, stay in, man. Don't shoot it every time.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go, guys, let's go. Two more, two more.
Good fielding, man. Good fielding. That's it. Guys, keep talking. Keep talking. Anirudh, warm up and next over. Okay? अंपायर तो नीचे देख रहा था, है ना? अंपायर नीचे देख रहा था. Anirudh, open your arms. Bowl few balls before you bowl, okay? Munit, start from 30, beta. Start from 30. Bowling. Spot on. Super bowling Dallas. Solid swing हो रहा है. ध्यान पीछे से ही रहना, वो मारेगा तो हवा में मारेगा.
That's it.
देख वो प्रेशर में खेल रहा है, प्रेशर रिलीज करने हवा में मारेगा.
Be ready, be ready. It's coming, it's coming.
તનુષ બે સ્ટેપ પાછળથી રહે છે. ઓલવેઝ આગળ જવાય, પાછળ ના જવાય. Punit, get ready next over.
Cut it. Oh, good one, guys. Good one.
Run out?
Out किया उसने, वो बाहर ही है मेरे ख्याल से.
I think वो गिर गया बाहर. Anirudh, all you did was did not finish your action. Make sure you just finish your action, okay? You're just a bit slower on that. Just finish. Don't worry about the swing and everything. Just finish your action.
Catch is coming here. Let's go, D-back boys.
Good fielding, guys. Keep it up. Keep talking. Come on, Otto. Keep cheering, guys. Keep cheering.
That's it, boy. That's it. There you go. I do, man, no, we lost the game because of
Bowling boy! Ooh, bowling boy!
Hit it.
no fire, no fire.
Good bowling. Beta, remember, finish your action. Don't worry about swing. Do not try to swing. Just if you bowl straight, the ball will swing by itself. Okay? Just run in and bowl. Punit Gola.
There you go.
વિહાન 30 થી ચાલુ કરજે કારણ કે મારશે તો હવામાં જ મારશે. I'm not too worried about singles.
Always back up, guys. Other side. Good bowling, good bowling, good bowling.
Ump.
You got it, boy. You got it.
Vansh, talk to him.
Off stump, off stump.
That's it, boy. That's it. There you go. On the run. Go, boy.
Take your time, take your time.
That's it, boy. That's it. Rice coming. Come on, boy. Playing under pressure.
One Vishwak, 6 now, 6.
Punit, ball behind the stumps. Okay?
Mark your run up again, mark your run up. One this time, 6 Vishwak, this time 6.
Vihan! Actually, no.
Mark your run up.
One of you call. Yo, Punit. 2-step run up. Ball behind the stumps. I don't need you to go in front of the stumps. You can bowl from behind the stumps also. Right?
Vishwak, now 6, buddy.
Just ball behind. 2 steps. Punit. 2 steps behind the stumps. You will be fine.
Cannot
Vian, you have to be in the field.
Yeah, please.
You can't be in the field on a bubble.
No ball, you cannot. Yeah, let's stay there. That's all right. Yeah.
Hampton पे आपके ऊपर है. यो वियान उससे बात कर, उसको काम डाउन कर और उसको बोल स्टंप के पीछे से डालेगा तो चलेगा और स्लो डालेगा तो भी चलेगा. नहीं ऐसा कुछ नहीं है हमारा. जनरली कैसा होता है मैं पहले से बोल देता हूँ. मैरिज में क्या बहुत सारे लोगों को पहचान वाले हुआ है तो साकेत के बैठ मोहन देखा बैकअप यार.
Fine. Where you were. Always run when the back, for the backup other side fielders.
हाँ बस तो वो ही किया था. That's it. आपके ऊपर ऐसा कुछ है.
Stay in the game.
ऐसा लगे नहीं.
Let's go, boy.
Completely. It's not. Every day 9:30 को post.
Oh, just water. Hey, squad, run on. 65 and 10 overs, all right? Keep it going. 65 and 10 overs. Come on. Nice running, boys. Nice running. What is up, Biggie? Just on the ground.
Guys, 65 runs in 10 overs.
Tanush, warm up time. Jana bachi. બીજા કોઈ નામ છે તનુષ?
That's a six. Stop, boy. Bro, he literally just like that, boy. Bro, he literally went like this and it went behind. Good job, boys. Good job. Check the field, Deepak. Check the new field.
Punit. Yeah, about to go. Punit, 30 yards.
Good job, boys. In the gaps, boys. Where are you going?
इधर आ जाना है, दूसरे सारे अंडर 17 के भी बच्चे उधर है, तो उनको भी मजा आएगा। तो बच्चे इकट्ठा रहेंगे ना, मजा आएगा। जनरली मेरे क्या होता है कि स्कूल होता है, पर अभी मेरी में कोविड की वजह से सारे तो घूमते रहते हैं। कल तो इसलिए हो गया क्योंकि कल मैं फ्री था। अभी कैसा है कि मैं ये गेम खेलता खेलते 17 में चला गया। अनुज भी वहाँ पे ही है, फिर अंडर 17 के पीछे हम लोग आइडिया में तो कुछ नहीं, हमारा कैसा रहता है। Hey, long on में सांबर उभर है, वंश, long on, yo, go inside, mid wicket. You switch with Atharva, short extra cover. Tanush. Vian, तुझे पास रह जा। कारण के तय दिए सिंगल लेसन, बाउंड्री पर दिए सिंगल लेसन। थोड़ा वाइडर रहे। Anirudh, stay a little bit inside. Advait, beta, from the circle. That's it. Karthik, go behind, go back. That's it.
Okay, boys, okay.
Good bowling. Once put this.
Oh, wide it.
Right.
सिंगल ही है तो बाउंड्री पे ही रहना, और जिसको भी फील्डिंग में रखे वो उसको बाउंड्री पे ही रखना। जल्दी आ जा। Savage, your catch. Savage, it was yours.
Let's go, boys. Let's go, boys.
Run, guys, run.
Tanush, 8 speed and act. Loop जरा ही ना कर, 8 speed and act. बल्ला बॉल. Anirudh continues. होता है मैं बोला ऐसा मत बोलो मेरे को टेंशन हो जाता है सो इधर मैं आपको दिपेश भाई का नंबर देता हूँ गेम चल रहा है आई विल नॉट बी फ्री टिल 12 आई विल Yes. Remember I told you that we found out before.
Guys, keep talking.
Let's
go. Good bowling, guys. Keep it up. Keep talking. Energy. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, Akshay.
Oh.
મને આપણે જુલાઈ તારીખ સુધી બાકી वंश ऐसे नहीं पूछते ऐसे पूछते वी कैन पुट 5 आउटसाइड ऐसा पूछना है नेगेटिव नहीं पूछना है पॉजिटिव पूछना है अपने लिए उससे मैं बोला उससे बोला मैंने उसको पूछा अंपायर को पूछ 5 बार रख सकते उससे पूछा कैन यू ओनली 4 कैन बी आउट राइट मैं बोला पागल I just say oh my god Atharva drop back Advait को अंदर ला दे एक मिनट Advait stay there Puneet come in the middle नहीं this way ba आराम से मारेंगे अपने को अरे कहाँ जाके Puneet, come here. तू बाउंड्री से ही आ, कैच आएगा तो बाउंड्री पे, अथर्व बाउंड्री पर ही रहे.
That's okay. Next one coming. Next one. Let's go, Tanush.
Samit, next over, warm up.
That's it coming.
I didn't expect that one. He was running so slow and he just blows the foot off.
Yeah, that. Good fielding. Keep talking, guys.
Tanush, come where Atharva is. Atharva, go where Samit is. No. That's okay.
Go for water, okay? Keep hitting. You will get a.
That's how all like my skills are.
I want a hat. Yeah, Vijay, now you can remember this. No, it's been 2 years. Last year you.
Atharva, go deep. Yes, deep. Ask him boundary. Walk from the boundary.
Tanush, क्या चाहते तो क्या जाओ से.
Let's go, Summit.
Catch is coming, guys. Catch. Be ready.
Batsman.
Okay, guys, be prepared for very slow bowling and some very part in the fielders.
Off stump, guys. Off stump. Stump निकालने का. Off stump. Throw in! Once अपने गेम पे ध्यान दो. Yes, इधर ध्यान दो. It's coming. Elders ready for the catch.
My entire team was shocked.
Good bowling.
energy, come on.
Fielders ready. That was the catch, guys. Stay in the game.
This is all
Why do you want to play test cricket? You make money like this.
He only does. And then if you went to the other side, went to the other field.
Hit!
No, it was the four of them. No.
Attack the ball, guys, when it's coming. It's stopping ball.
Take a start, take a start. That's what he first.
I don't care whatever you do.
Check the field, Thanos.
Yo, boundary. Atharva, boundary. Boundary. Oi! Slow सुना है देखना जोर दी
Guys, show some energy. Keep talking.
Energy दी ना
He's outside. He's outside. He stepped outside.
That's what I want to see.
Good bowling, good bowling.
He stepped outside. What? He stepped outside. He stepped outside.
Hit it.
They want their customer base to be small. They want
Come on, guys. Come on.
that's what it is. We had to use their business.
No, he's an American.
Run it. Hold it, hold it. Now, give it back now.
Never is easy to play.
Yes.
That's it.
Every ball, good ball.
And I paid $1,000.
Go back.
Shoot!
Go back.
Samit continues. Atharva, that side. It depends. See, if you get
Come on, Samit.
Guys, we need a wicket. We need a wicket. Stop those singles. Eyes on the ball.
Look at this big gap right here.
Go power, come on.
Jacket,
Go half hard and shot.
Punit, switch with Advik. No, stay back.
You don't know?
Guys, set up, guys.
હા કહું તને હું અત્યારે છે ને કંઈક અહીંયા છું हम कहाँ पे प्रदीप भाई हम लोग अभी कहाँ पे कौन सी सिटी में गेटर्सबर्ग એટલે આઈસ વિલ લાઈક maybe today maybe tomorrow mostly I will tell you I'm not sure yet હું તને ફોન કરું ગેમમાં તો પ્લીઝ
Let's go, let's go.
Catch. विहान सुन इधर आगे रहे या पीछे रहे अगर उसके लिए जा रहा है तो तू आगे 2 स्टेप ले लेता कैच हो जाता इधर गो फॉर इट अदरवाइज डोंट गो फॉर इट अगर गो फॉर इट तो हो जाएगा छूटेगा तो भी चौका ही जाएगा ना
Next over.
तनुष जोरથી નાખજે
Stop it!
गुड फील्डिंग बेटा
So energy. Go back.
અનિરુદ્ધ ને થોડો પાછળથી રાખ બેકવર્ડ પોઈન્ટ રાખ
वहीं पे
અનિરુદ્ધ that's it Puneet go back a bit Next over. Hurry. One, leg. Bija. Atharva. Go inside. Atharva. Just one leg. One उधर चला गया.
Put off the here.
One leg. आप कौन निकलेगा कौन नहीं आप कौन छुट्टी मत कहता हूँ. Warm up first. Balls, few balls to Karthik. Vansh, पीछे आजा.
पीछे वो वंश
Vansh, पीछे आ मेरे भाई.
रन बैक
Yo, square leg. 30 yards. थोड़ा वाइड हट जा, वहाँ पे क्या जाएगा? Yeah. अथर्वने डिप स्क्वेअर મૂકી દે. અને અંપાયરને જઈને પૂછી લે ને પાંચ બાર મૂકવાનું કે નહીં ચેક કરી લે. એવું તું કે ને અંપાયરને કીધું 5 બાર મૂકાય ને.
5 outside or 4?
5, right? Atharva. Boundary. मैं इसलिए उसको दिया क्योंकि वो एकदम लूप डालता है ना तो कैच देगा ही देगा.
आएगा या एग्जैक्टली
पर हमारे पास अच्छे फील्डर भी होंगे.
सामने नहीं आएगा ना अंतिम में राइट इन बैट के नीचे डाला
मेरे को वही लगा पर सामने कैच कर लेगा. हाँ स्विच कर ले. सांभळ मिड विकेट ऊपर जतो રહે ત્યાંથી સ્વિચ કરી લેજે.
हाथ से लगा भी है
Samet, go inside the circle. Karthik, come outside.
कार्तिक लॉन्ग ऑन
Samet, just go inside the circle. You're okay with your hand? Go inside the circle. It's okay.
गो इन समेत इन
Guys, we're supposed to start that. Ready? Look at here. Come on.
Ian, next roll.
Okay.
और रन नहीं दिया. I don't need it. Vihan Mehta. वन अंदर चला जाओ उसको बाहर भेज दो. ऊपर से नहीं मारेगा विहान के लिए. अंदर सिंगल ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है. अथर्व ने डीप मिड विकेट मूकी जाना स्क्वेअर लेग मूकी दे. अथर्व डीप मिड विकेट. श्रीहरी स्क्वेअर लेग. वंशी ऐसे डाइव मार ले. बॉल चला जाएगा तो भी चलेगा. अनुष एक काम कर. आवाज देते रहे. वन नेक्स्ट वर आजा. आणि कार्तिक नाही आला. सांभाळ. अथर्वन थोडं हाऊस कॉर्नर बाजूला आहे. ना 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 चालશે तनु सिंह जायचं. कार्तिक here. उसने बॉल मारा.
Bowling, bowling.
Bowling, good feeling, boys. Come on.
Guys, and you guys have to run with intent. Look for twos in the outfield.
Bowling, boy, bowling. Ball. Look for the second over. Back up.
Anirudh.
Come on, last ball.
What do you mean, guys?
ये ओवर एंट्री ला रहे हैं, ये वो ready नहीं है.
Anirudh, this over. No, oi. Punit ने ball किया.
Sammo, are you okay? Are you okay with your hand?
Your hand. It's fine.
Come on, Annie boy, you can do it, boy. Let's go.
Anirudh, run in and simply bowl straight, okay? Nothing more, nothing less. Advik beta boundary. Chill. Tanush, तेरी बाजू क्या चाहो से बाटी रहे, तेरी वाइडर जा. वाइडर जा. पार्टिसिपेट कर, असली मजा नहीं कर रहे. सांभाळ एक काम कर. अनिरुद्ध अथर्व जोड स्विच मार.
Watch the ball, guys. Watch the ball.
Oh my god!
Feeling boy. Keep it there, Annie boy. Keep it there. Single.
Why did I say boundary? Were you at boundary? I stepped inside the boundary, right? Pian! Were you at the boundary? When you at the boundary, then how do you expect to stop that ball? Stay there. Run boundary, right?
Say coach. How many players can be outside?
5.
5 हो सकते हैं.
Pian!
No ball. Good job. Good throw. Back up.
Guys, yaar.
Back up. Come
Are you serious?
Come on. Don't throw. Don't shoot. Come on.
Back up!
Where you were?
What?
back
तेरे
up.
को भी करना पड़ेगा, right?
Back up, boys. Back up. Don't throw.
नहीं,
don't
ऐसा नहीं
shoot.
चलेगा. अतर वो बाउंड्री
Are you
पर रह
guys
बेटा.
sleeping?
Don't shoot.
No, 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 no.
Don't shoot when you don't have to.
Do not walk in, okay? Atharva, do not walk in.
Good job, Ihan. Good job. Good bowling, boy.
Tanuj, screen तो मारनी पड़े. यहाँ ना चाले. Fielding ना करे तो ना चलो मार.
Behind there are other options also. Not on the slot.
What you are doing, okay, boy?
Think and ball.
Good ball, boy.
Think and ball other options.
Raj, next over.
Come on, we are going to get him, boys.
Me
Yeah.
and Abhi ran four. My first four, me and Abhi ran. Bro, yesterday, me and Abhi, my first four, me and Abhi ran.
Good ball, boy. Good ball. Don't shoot.
Just return it back quickly, don't shoot.
No fielding, yeah. Yes, boy, yes.
One.
Run, run. Nice. Finish. You're gonna get the
Good feeling, boy. Excellent feeling, boy. Good feeling. Atharva, awesome, boy. Awesome. Good job, Atharva.
Let's go. Deepak.
ऐसा है कि जहाँ जहाँ भी मैं उसको डालता हूँ ना तो उसको
I'm noticing. He's trying to protect the correct position. कहाँ जाएगा वहाँ जा ही नहीं रहा है वो.
तो कहीं और ही जा रहा है बॉल.
Bowling, boy. Bowling. Throw.
अरे ये शूट करने का था इस बार नहीं.
Samo, back up, man. Not that close, Samo. Back you not that close. Bowling, boy. Bowling.
Let's go, boy. Hang up your helmet. Deepak, raise your back.
वंश वापिस घूम के अंपायर को नहीं देखना है फिर तो वो वाइड ही देगा. तूने क्या किया सबसे पहले घूम के अंपायर को देखा है कि नहीं.
Problem, Ansh, boy. You're doing okay, boy. Bowling. Take it.
सो रहा था वो बॉल जब ऊपर गए जब जा.
Very good. I love your fielding.
Bowling, boy. Effort. No, no. Back up, Samo.
Wait, last over. Tanush.
One more ball. Umpire, one more ball. Umpire, one more ball left.
अंपायर बोले नहीं हमारा बोलर चला गया कि अंपायर को कुछ मालूम नहीं. वंश नॉर्मल डाल कोई टेंशन नहीं है नॉर्मल डाल.
Good attempt, once. Don't shoot.
पानी आवेगा.
लास्ट ओवर वो नहीं लगेगा. तीसरा तो मारा कितना मारोगे. तनुष अपील तो कर, अपील तो कर. क्या कर रहा है?
Vijay, your 50 is coming up, boy.
नहीं नहीं कार्तिक कार्तिक.
Hey coach, it's not me.
Oh no 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 wait 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 wait. Bon.
Come back. You don't understand the rule. Out. No ball. Straight ahead.
Stepping down, umpire. Batsman stepping down. How it's no ball. Two step outside the cage.
Good job, guys. Let's go. Four up. Four up. Four up. 5 runs. Straight ahead. Come on. Sorry. 2 runs. 2 runs. Straight ahead. 2 runs.
कौन किससे किया था?
मुझे लगता है उसको लगा वो बाउंड्री किया है.
No ball. Shoot.
Oh, Tarwa.
Good job, Tanush. Good job. Throw.
दो बॉल का 1 रन और 1 बॉल का रन.
एक रन दिया ना, दूसरे रन क्या हो गया? ऐड करेंगे तो वापस चल जाएंगे.
Awesome bowling, Tanush boy. No toe, no toe. Throw. No toe. No. Back up. Back up, boy.
टोटल 2 ही कौन.
Batsman name?
No two, no two. No two. Throw. Throw.
One more ball. Okay, no ball. One more ball.
Fire, come on.
तनुष
Stay boundary.
बस एवढे विचारी विचारी ने रहो
Stay boundary. No, that's a good throw.
अभी अभी रहा
Don't tune ge.
Sit down.
Did Jared come back?
Go.
We'll ask him to come directly. We good?
बरोबर છે કશો વાંધો નહીં તનુષ બરોબર હતો બોલ બેટા શોટ બરોબર હતો શોટ બરોબર હતો
Hey, that's okay, that's okay. Hey. Ani.
too slow. Come on, man.
Guys, appeal, guys.
Batsman, ready?
Out appeal.
Ivan, you missed it, man. Ball in the hand. Come on.
ચલો તનુષ આ દોડાય તનુષ આ દોડાય
Niche, Atu, slow.
તું એવું વિચારી છે દોડાશે કોણ દોડાશે ફિલ્ડર ચેક કર અને દોડાય ફિલ્ડર ચેક કરો તનુષ આવા તને પહેલા પણ મળેલા બોલ રાઈટ આવા મળેલા કે નહીં તો માઇન્ડમાં એ યાદ રાખવાનું કે જો આપણે ફ્રી રીતે મારી શકીએ તો રેગ્યુલર બોલ પણ મારી શકીએ ઓકે આઈડિયા આવ્યો guys go there.
Guys, the batsman's gonna try to hit here. He's gonna try to hit the ball hard.
બહારથી જવું હોય તો જવાય કોઈ ના નથી પાડવાનું પણ I don't like it.
you have it under the wrong name.
Lele. Stop it, Lele. Don't be dumb, man. Played so much cricket, don't know how to bloody back up. Basic.
Come on, boy. All the way, boy.
Tanush, Kylo faster. Doesn't matter you 1 second or not.
Not for you, okay?
Big boy.
Come on.
Aro, मारी दे. मारी दे. Right down कर मारी दे. निकली जैसे.
Aryan, cricket. Don't give room. No waste, man. Come on. Home. Line. Oh, only on. No. You have 2 people on here.
Yeah, coach. We have Lele and Dino D.
Those power.
Run. Hus.
Well done. Good job, Lele. Shabash, guys. Nice keep.
Aatu ball. Aatu.
Beta, too close, too close. Get back and work up. Back. You're right, man. Your head to the window.
Do it again, Richmond! Strikers!
Well done, guys. It's okay. Sambar. That's it.
Ball ra.
No, stay there, man. No single. Push them that way. Dino. Dino move. Satu move. Right, work up on your toes, everyone.
Take your time, take your time. Batting, batting. That's okay, boy. That's okay. That's okay. Bring it in. Bring it in. You're doing good.
Keep going, good pace. Good pace, good zip.
Guys, no loose balls, man.
Watch Vishwa moving slightly to the right.
That's the line, that's the left.
That's fine. Risky, risky. From the stump, let him take that.
Jessica, you should stop that, man. Come on. Go, Anika.
Good over. Keep it going, guys.
have 11 minutes.
Sadhu, come on. Good over, Sadhu. Come on.
Train short steps, fast running.
Vijay, back leg. Do you need slip? Do you need slip? Do you need slip? Do you need slip?
Smart bowling, guys. Come on. Energy on, everyone. Come on. Hey, Shiva.
I don't know, I think so. Then I'll bring it.
Guys, this is not a drink break, guys. Drink water and come on.
Go back, quick.
Is it this one? Guys, that is the ball. That is the ball. Guys, two more, that's it. Come on. Yeah. Deepu, you know what to do now?
Vishwas, get that hook up. They won't run that single way. Come on, guys. Energy on throughout the innings. Come on.
a little back there. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Deepu, bring it in. Contain the single. 5 minutes. Stay here. That way you can continue the sequence. Don't worry about it. It will be a short. Guys, you can get run out. Come on. Buddy. Behind the stump. Behind the stump.
Don't forget the ball.
Vijay, keep someone deep. One deep. Satvik. Send one deep. After that, you come after that. Right? Just put your what is that? Eka, slip. Hey, one step back. One step back. Eka, one step back. Yeah, that's good. After this. After break we will come. It's okay, boy. He's doing for the first time. Go easy on him. I know. Those things happen, right? Hey, Abbas, it's okay. Guys, go easy on him, boy. Drink lot of water, not some water. You want some water? Put it in your box. I didn't put it in. You're drinking lot of water. Why do you have to drag the game? Take the game.
Come on, boys, come on!
Keeper boy, keeper. That's okay.
सभी कॉन्टेस्ट में शिफ्ट
I think that's like
It is fuel or no? It is, but I can't see. It's fuel? Where do you come from?
Leka, that's your spot. Amma. Anand bhai. Get in. Yeah, I have one. Not in the ground. Yeah. Guys, discipline. You're not giving practice.
Sunglasses.
Let's get this wicked boy. Come on. Oh, four. That's a four, not a six. It's a four. You don't need to run.
Guys, take a boundary fielder also.
Guys, finish the game early. Come on.
Dino. Why do you need two slips then? If you have one short, make it.
If it is by the judgment, then that is different. He has to mention that it is by a judgment. If someone panel is that has to be documented. Otherwise, they have to go. Yes, correct. They said they are publishing, but I didn't send estimation. Before the one, they should have. None of them. Is anything going public?
Let's go, Vijay.
I know, but I see.
Hey guys, keep the
Following the other parents.
run slow. Okay, let's go. Come on.
Oh, that's fine. If it is not, if it is not there,
Hey!
if it is not there. Keeper! Buddy! Anticipate! Down!
No, Ivan goes from this end. Aryan replaces Dino. Okay. From the other end. Guys, we need to really be sharp, guys. They're going to try to hit. Have the right fielder.
Most likely, unless they
Guys, that's the boundaries. You need to have fielders at the boundaries. Okay? One go, deep square leg. Deep. At the boundaries. Let's get wickets.
2 more to go.
Good throw is out. Good throw is out. For him, you can come in. That's not. Don't. Really, for him, come in. We don't stays back. Guys, come on, guys. Dino, go to your right. Two straight. Go, let's go, guys. More intensity. More intensity.
Run up line ही करवाना.
No run. Just keep doing that, Niman. All day.
Get your run up.
Dino, keep talking, Dino. Fine.
Get your run up.
Bring it in, girl.
That's fine. Le boundary.
So आवरी bowling का run करेंगे करे से. How do you ball like this?
Guys, too many runs, okay? 6 done.
कथन run up line करवाना बेटा. वो बाबा ना करे चल. Come on. Run up line